They'll probably be looking at that draw thinking, I've got a pretty good chance here because those big guns are going to be taking each other out before the final's even taken place.
I think this will probably either make or break him in many ways, because he's approaching something of a swan song in his career, I would have thought.
She gave Iga a tough set, so that's more than most people can say.
Yeah.
So she's looking fairly decent on the clay. So I think, based on the fact that she's also in the other half, I wouldn't be surprised to see her in the semis or the final.
I think that you can also put pressure on a tournament without doing something that feels beyond extreme.
Ironically, this actually means that Medvedev is going to be number one after Wimbledon, because Novak's not going to be able to defend his ranking points. So actually, a Russian player is going to end up being number one. So, does that promote Russia's war machine? Welcome back to the Getting a Grip Tennis podcast. Merlin looking very studious today in his glasses because it's some very serious chat about to go down with the preview for the French Open. Although it's already begun, but this is the preview that everyone's been waiting for. So we're going to give the people what they want.
It's also about defending my title. These are some good luck glasses. Makes me look smart, so hopefully I'll be smart.
Ah, yes, I see. Trying to defend his 100% record in the tennis trivia. But yes, the two main talking points for this week are, of course, the French Open preview for the men's and women's draw, and then the news that we've had in the last couple of days about Wimbledon being stripped of its ranking points, and all the kind of ramifications of that. So we'll be chatting about those two main topics. Of course, the first place to start, though, is the French Open. Let's start with the men's side of things, as we always do. So we're going to talk about kind of who we think is going to win it, obviously, and then other players that we think could make a deep run as our sort of dark horses. If we could have a quick look at the draw, I think, the main news that's come out is Djokovic and Nadal in the same quarter, and, of course, Alcaraz in the same half of those two. So that's kind of where everyone's eyes are going to be, I think. But obviously we also have the other half of the draw where we've got the likes of Medvedev, Tsitsipas, so they'll probably be looking at that draw thinking, I've got a pretty good chance here because those big guns are going to be taking each other out before the final's even taken place, and who knows kind of what physical condition they'll be in by that point. What do you make of the draw and how it might play out throughout the tournament?
I personally think the draw is setting us up for the likelihood that someone outside of the big three, big four, again, whatever you're calling that old style, I think it's setting up for someone outside of that to probably end up as the winner. Because if you've got an entire draw of people with them as absent, obviously Federer's not about, Murray's not about, you've only got the two big guns left at the moment, especially with Nadal with potentially dodgy foot as well. I think again we're setting up for something like in the US Open, same time this happened when Team won the US Open. That half of the draw was absent of some of the big names, and I think that this is going to have a big impact on that final, because again, a lot of these players can beat one of them. It's just whether you can beat more than one of them in the same tournament, and that's a tough job. So
I think even though we've seen Alcaraz beat Nadal and Djokovic in consecutive matches, which of course was a very rare feat, and I think in that Madrid tournament that was the first time someone had beaten the top three players in consecutive matches since like Nalbandian or something. But doing that in a Grand Slam is obviously a whole different ball game with the whole best of five format, so it definitely does play into his hands a little bit, the fact that he will, if he does make the semis, because there's no guarantee that he does, but the fact that one of those two will have already taken each other out sort of means that his tough two matches will be that semi-final and potentially that final if he gets that far. Obviously Nadal does have this foot injury. It's hard to say kind of what impact that's going to have on his tournament. I think it'd be interesting to see how the first match plays out. But do you see that hindering him significantly? And will he make the quarterfinals even?
It's a good question. Again, we can't know the severity. We're not Rafael Nadal ourselves, so only he's going to know that. He's not going to let much, out in terms of that, because obviously that will, give some sort of tactical advantage to his opponent. So, I think you just got to see what happens. I think this will probably either make or break him in many ways, because he's approaching something of a swan song in his career, I would have thought. Again, like, it's hard to know it's hard to know how much of a swan song he's going to reach. Federer went on for ages after what we believed was his swan song, but this foot thing does seem minor, so I think it's probably more likely we'll see a fairly solid Nadal. But hey, I can easily be wrong, and it could be a big impact. But like I say, I think we'll be okay. He's too much of a champion to let something like a niggle get in his way.
We shall see. I mean, to me, it seemed quite serious in Rome, but yeah, I don't know how they're managing it or whatever. I think, based on what I've seen, he probably will make the quarterfinals. How easy that'll be, I'm not sure. Probably not as easy as previous years, but I just don't see him being able to beat Novak in the best of 5 if he's got any issue whatsoever.
I think if we're going by previous results and how that leads to Rafael Nadal winning the French Open, I think he's not set up the same way. So clearly, obviously, like, the more clay tournaments he wins on the run-up to the French Open, the more easily he seems to just cruise through all the matches at Roland Garros in that year. So, given he's not really won a major clay tournament, in that build-up, I think that's going to affect him mentally. He's a very superstitious character. We know this. We know he likes to make his bottle face the way he's serving, and that everything needs to be just right with the sweat on his face before every point. So, yeah, like I say, all of these things are going to make an impact on him. And like I say, I think the foot thing's probably less of an issue, and I think the foot thing has just started maybe the seeds of doubt in maybe his mind.
Yeah, so I'm going to ask for, of course, your prediction of who you think is going to win the overall tournament, and then we're also going to have a little pop at who we think is going to make a deep run that's maybe not so favoured. So, yeah, what is your prediction for?
Well, I'm going to give you the chance to give your prediction first, because it's always me that gives the obvious prediction, it seems, and I'm quite obviously right a lot of the time because it's a slightly more open thing. So I'm going to ask you that question first, and then I will give you an opposing view.
Wait, hold on. Who's doing the presenting here? I thought this was my job.
This is a spin around.
You're just gonna twist it by going with the same person that I go with. That's what I could have done.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, then we're both winners. It's great. No. You go first. Like I say, it's a presenter's right that you should be able to get the first dibs this time.
Yeah, well, I'm going to go for the obvious one. I'm going to go with Novak. Obviously, when he started getting back into the clay season, he looked a bit rusty. But as the tournaments have gone on, for me, he's just looked more and more like the old Novak that we know. Barely missing anything, just wearing his opponents down mentally. And obviously he's playing that aggressive style again, which shows off both wings, forehand and backhand, that he's back in a good place with his game. So I just don't see anyone being able to overcome him in 5 sets. And let's not forget how good he has been on clay. I mean, obviously Nadal is the king of clay, but Novak's been incredible. If you just put him aside like anyone else,
as we proved last week, as we proved last week, those stats are second to Rafael Nadal. That is it. So,
that's my main prediction.
No, I don't blame you. I think it's quite hard to have an opposing view to that, because I think that is quite an overwhelming favour. And I could back the previous champion, Rafael Nadal, and say, like, he's got everything coming up his way in terms of, the fight and the spirit, and it could happen. But I think the confidence is Alcaraz, and I've got to admit, I don't have a feeling he's going to win it, but if you look at the stats at the moment, there's a good chance. So I'm going to go with that as my prediction, but I can't say I'm certain.
Okay, yeah, you're going with the flavour of the month there. Everyone's in love with Carlos now.
You've got to go with the trend. I'm not saying this because I'm particularly sort of love struck with him, but I think he could. I think he's got the weapons to do it. I think that's the key. And I'd love to say someone like Zverev or Ruud or or whatever could do this, especially with the side of the draw that they have. But I think whichever out of, say, Alcaraz, Djokovic, Nadal, whichever of them makes that final, I think it's theirs.
Okay. Well, I'll give you first dibs on who your dark horse is for this tournament. So this doesn't necessarily have to be someone that's going to win it, but just someone who's going to make a deep run that's maybe not as favoured as the other guys.
Well, I'm always a fan of backing a Brit. I'm always a bit patriotic that way. With the absence of Andy Murray, I'm going to say my dark horse is Cam Norrie. He's still 10th seed in a tournament. I think that's not exactly dark horse. Like, he's expected to make a decent run. But yeah, I think that he's gonna. I think that he's got the possibility of making a deep run. He's a bit unlucky where he is in the draw, I've got to admit. But then again, you could say that for anyone. Yeah, like I say, I think the side of his draw to get to the round of 16, I think he's probably the most well-rounded player to make it through that. Being that sort of Khachanov is probably the only person in that corner effectively that could cause that upset. But like I say, it wouldn't be much of an upset because he's the 12th seed, I think. 21st seed. No, completely read that wrong.
Norrie or Khachanov?
No, Khachanov, yeah. But obviously, yeah, like I say, I think Norrie's a favourite for that corner of the draw, but at the same time, I think he's got the weapons to cause some upset, especially on a clay, which is a bit more unpredictable.
Yeah, I think it's a decent shot. I mean, he's just won Leon, so he's in good form on the clay. I could see that being a quarter-final clash there between... Would it be quarter-final between him and Alcaraz? Or, either round of 16 or quarter-final. That could be quite tasty, actually.
That'd be around a 16, yeah, because that would be to make it to the quarters. But no, you're right. I think that would be quite entertaining because he's had some close matchups with him of late anyway. So.
Yeah, I think it is kind of he's somewhat of a dark horse because people just still don't. A lot of people probably still don't really rate him just because when you watch him play, you're like, well, there's nothing that stands out. He doesn't
play attractive tennis. No. He gets the job done. That's his style, and I'll be honest, a lot of Brits are like that, and I quite enjoy it. And that's why he's a dark horse because no one expects it, do they?
No, I'm going to go. So my dark horse prediction is not going to be someone who makes it's going to be someone who makes the final and wins it, actually, because I think people are so strongly in favour of like Novak or Alcaraz winning it that I'm going to go for a slightly different prediction for a dark horse, and I'm going to go with Tsitsipas to win the competition. I mean, I can't really say two players to win it, but that's what I'm doing. if my first pick doesn't win it, then my second pick's got to win it. So I'm going to go with Tsitsipas purely because he's in the other half of the draw, and I think if Novak has to play Nadal and then Alcaraz, and even if Alcaraz beats Novak, that's still going to be like a pretty tough match, I'd imagine. And I think Tsitsipas, again, last year, he got to the final and he was literally like so close to winning it. And obviously Novak came from two sets down. Yeah. So he's got good memories of the place. And he's in decent enough form. Sure, he lost to Novak in the final of Rome, but that anyone can lose to Novak in the final. So
he's a tough one. I'm never quite sure I understand his mentality, especially in the big matches. And you could put it down to, early days. He's not so early days anymore, but early days and not having won too much yet and nerves and all of that sort of thing. But there's something when I watch him that feels quite nearly man. And I hate to say that of someone because it's kind of condemning them to being forgotten.
Well, like Casper Ruud was nearly man last week. This week's nearly man is.
This week's nearly man. And that's, to be honest, that's my reply to you. You're saying dark horse. I'm saying dark horse nearly man.
Do you think he'll ever win a Grand Slam?
Oh, that's a rough question. I think his chances of winning a Grand Slam depend on a kind draw in his favour, I must admit. Which again is mean, but I must say that because there's just something that doesn't seem to quite go right for him in those big moments.
It does worry me a little bit that he's still reliant a little bit on his dad or his coach in his box like that. In really tough situations. I'm like, I'm not sure that he's going to like stand up to this test really, just because that's in the back of your mind.
Yeah, I think he's had some weird opposing views of political situations and all sorts in the past, recent past as well, especially with like the whole anti-vax sentiment as well, which was a little pinned on him. It was kind of stolen by Djokovic, obviously. Well, the media moved it to Djokovic, I should say. But
why would they do that?
No, I know. Why would they do that? But no, like I say, he's a very good player. This is what bothers me. He's a very good player, but just something doesn't quite switch on in those big moments.
Okay, well, we shall see. Those are our predictions. So for me, Novak winner, Tsitsipas dark horse to win it. Merlin's gone with Alcaraz to win it, and then Norrie to make a deep run to like the last 16 or quarters.
Yeah.
And get your suggestions in the comments for who you think is going to win it, and obviously who your dark horse is to either make a deep run or win the competition.
Let us know and give us some reasons as well. I'm excited to hear what everyone thinks.
Some stats that we're not aware of, no doubt.
Yeah.
All right, let's have a quick look at the women's one. I mean, do we need to do the women's prediction? Sure.
Yeah, the prediction's a little obvious of who we think's going to win it. She's in absolutely incredible form, and I'd be very surprised if she didn't win it. Then again, it's the women's tour, so like there's dark horses are a commonality, but you never know. You never know.
Yeah, I think she just looks mentally pretty rock solid to me, more than a lot of recent kind of Grand Slam winners. I mean, you could probably put Barty in a similar bracket because when she was a tennis player, in a former life, she was solid, like mentally. But I think 28 wins in a row is just ridiculous.
Swiatek's, I think, build-up reminds me of the usual Nadal build-up. Again, it's just, it oozes confidence and, just there's that supreme nature to the way that she's winning that, just looks like anyone that steps onto a court with her now has got to have that in the back of their mind. Oh, Christ, I could get spanked here, so.
Yeah, like bageled. She's bagling everyone.
Exactly.
I guess we're both going to go with Swiatek for the win.
Yeah, I'm not moving on that one.
I've got an interesting question actually about like a stat behind her number of wins later on in the quiz.
Oh, okay.
Yeah,
I'm looking forward to that.
Plant that seed. Okay, but we do have to we have to pick a dark horse as well. So based on what you've seen in the draw, do you have a dark horse for potentially stealing the crown away from Iga?
Oh, it's a really tough one. Again, you could give a fair shout to a fair few players. Given
shout out.
I'm a big fan of Halep. I think, like especially on clay, she's had some success in the past. And I mean, the way in which I saw or when I watched her beat Serena Williams at Wimbledon, this is a few years back now. But sometimes she locks in and finds this supreme form that's just, like Swiatek at the moment. But like I say, I think she could be. She's in that similar area of the draw, so maybe she, is not quite going to blossom at the later stage, not given the chance to effectively based on her ranking. But if I were a betting man, I'd put down that she could have a bit of an impact. But then there's also Sabalenka. I don't know. Something tells me Sabalenka could do a deep run. So
yeah, well, I'm just checking. Simona did win it in 2018, so
exactly.
she's got good history there. I think who was I going to go with? There was someone else. I'm trying to look at someone in the other half of the draw. I was initially going to go with Ons Jabeur, but she's already lost. So that's
it's unfortunate that way.
Unfortunate, yeah. I've lost in the first round. How unfortunate. I think she was blaming the early start.
Yeah, it's got to ask some questions maybe, but
who was I going to go with? It was Sabalenka was obviously a clear one that stood out, but there was someone else in there. Azarenka, yeah. I think she actually might be my dark horse pick because she's been in quite good form actually. She gave Iga a tough set, so that's more than most people can say.
Yeah.
So she's looking fairly decent on the clay. So I think based on the fact that she's also in the other half, I wouldn't be surprised to see her in the semis or the final. And you just never know when you get to that stage. Bit of pressure. But
and I think, dare I say it, I think that's a very good shout, actually, dark horse wise. Dare I say it, we haven't really touched too much on the youngsters. Obviously, we've gone with some more senior players, but I'm still waiting for Raducanu to find her form, to find that indomitable form that she found for the US Open, and I think this may be a conversation for Wimbledon, because obviously they've had a lot more success around this area, but I think players like Emma Raducanu or Coco Gauff, for example, these are players that, if we were talking about Wimbledon, these are players that I'd give the dark horse to. But obviously it's clay, so it's a different reality. But they might do well.
Yeah. Also, we haven't even spoken about Naomi Osaka. She's she's not even seeded, so
no.
That's pretty shocking. So yeah, I don't really know what's going on with that. Raducanu seeded 12. That's pretty high.
She's riding on some points still.
Yeah, well, I mean, can't complain too much. I would be surprised to see her make a deep run, because it looks like she's still got a few little niggles.
Yeah, something's not quite there yet. But like I say, I think we're all waiting for it, because you don't just win a US Open the way she did out of a fluke. So there's something there simmering away.
Well, yeah, and obviously she did well at Wimbledon before that. So, yeah. But maybe clay is it can take a while for people to adjust to, as we said before. So, it might take a few more years yet. The other main news in terms of tennis headlines recently has been this stripping of ranking points for Wimbledon and the LTA, WTA events in the UK. Basically, LTA events generally. So yeah, obviously Wimbledon had this stance where they're banning players from Russia or Belarus, which has caused a bit of controversy, to say the least, and is obviously going against what the ATP and WTA have done, where they've allowed these players to compete but under a neutral flag or whatever. So the ATP have then obviously looked at this and decided now that they're just going to strip all the ranking points completely away from Wimbledon, which leaves us with the interesting position of basically it's an exhibition event now.
Yeah, this is the issue. The fact that they've done it for both LTA and WTA is clearly an issue as well, and I think obviously it's going to have a lot of knock-on issues when it comes to players bothering, considering such a major tournament. In fact, I'm not even going to go with such a major tournament. I'm going to say the biggest tournament in world tennis is being stripped of ranking points. I think everyone's got it wrong here, if I'm quite honest. I think that they were wrong to start off saying that obviously these players couldn't play. I think you can take a strict and a harsh stance without going that far, especially when obviously it's not like these players are fighting in Ukraine. It's merely a case of politics in one nation affecting another. It's not like other countries are going to ban English players because Boris Johnson has done something weird that week. So
which he does every week. So
yeah, exactly. I know the scale's different, and I know that people feel very strongly about this sort of thing. But again, politics and sport, I don't think it should mix that much, at least not in terms of policy response. I think secondly, I think that in order to strip ranking points is also the wrong move. I think that you can also put pressure on a tournament without doing something that feels beyond extreme, if I'm quite honest as well. Because to say to, again, the biggest tournament in the world, oh, you mean nothing to us now, isn't exactly an open dialogue, and is not exactly something that includes the players in making decisions. Just feels like a bunch of people throwing toys out of the pram. So again, I think everyone's got it wrong. I'm hoping U-turn will equal U-turn in the long run. I'm hoping that English LTA will make a change, and hopefully that'll change everything else. But again, we might not know. If so, Wimbledon are going to have to strip the price of their tickets significantly.
Yeah, I've got tickets to the first day, and I'm thinking, this is interesting now. But the prize money, I assume, is still going to be the same or similar.
Theoretically.
Yeah, so I don't see players not turning up because, well, one, obviously, it's, for me at least, it's still got the prestige. And if you're Novak, for example, it's still a Grand Slam, so you still want to win that to cement your place in history. Plus, yeah, the prize money is it makes a huge difference, especially to these lower players as well.
Well, exactly. Even if you make it through the first round, that's enough money to fund the rest of your year playing tennis on the tour. So, that I don't know if that's exactly true, but again, it's an exaggeration. It's good money. So, it's very important.
Yeah, I'm not just saying this. I didn't agree with the decision before they were stripped of ranking points to ban players from Russia or Belarus. But ironically, this actually means that Medvedev is going to be number one after Wimbledon because Novak's not going to be able to defend his ranking points. So actually, a Russian player is going to end up being number one. So, does that promote Russia's war machine or whatever?
No, it's a very good point, and this is where I think the ATP and the WTA have been really short-sighted. And I think if anything, they've made a bad situation worse. And I think I'd like to see tennis fans vocalise that.
Yeah, I mean, the cynic in me thinks the reason to ban Russian and Belarusian players in the first place by Wimbledon was because, Wimbledon LTA, they get a fair amount of funding from the UK government, and the UK government have been putting a lot of pressure on them, which I don't think is right, because now basically the UK government are using sport as a vehicle for politics, which is almost what they're saying it shouldn't be used for, because they're saying
anything it's a distraction.
Yeah, so it's just a mess. I don't agree with it, but anyway, let's hope that they come to some sense. But I feel like they're probably just going to become more entrenched in their position, sadly.
I think if anyone as well has any ideas or things that we've missed, feel free to let us know in the comments as well, because this is a tough topic, and like I say, I don't think anyone's going to get it right, but we can sure get it a lot more right than we have so far as a community.
Yeah, let us know. It is pretty unprecedented for tennis to be kind of intertwined with politics this way. It's time for some tennis trivia. Whee! Yeah, no pressure on you to defend your 100% record. Is it the last two quizzes you've got 5?
It's the last two that I got 5 out of 5. The last one was a sheer fluke and a nice little bit of luck. But obviously I'm hoping to defend it. But it's a tough gigs to manage.
Okay. Well, I'm hoping one of them might make you think a little bit towards the end.
Yeah, I'm hoping.
You've got the glasses on, so obviously that means brain is now engaged, because when you're not wearing glasses, obviously it's not engaged. That's how it works.
Push them up my nose. Lovely. Engaged.
Here we go. Okay. Question 1 then. So as I said before, I was going to give you a question about Swiatek and her record-breaking run. So, if Iga Swiatek was to win the French Open, she would equal the record for consecutive wins on the women's tour. So my question is, who currently holds this record? And your options are Serena Williams, Venus Williams, Steffi Graf, or Ash Barty.
Ooh. So you're going with the Williams sisters, Barty, and Steffi Graf. I could be tempted to say Steffi Graf, but I know back in that time there was less of that sort of tour level match play going on. So I'm not feeling that one. But I know that Venus is regarded as one of the better tennis players in history because she has had some incredible form, especially in build-up to tournaments. And she even managed that after Serena started winning. I feel like I know this. I feel like I know it's Venus. So I'm going to go with that. I could be disastrously wrong, but let's go with that.
Yeah, that's correct. Well done. I can't believe you still managed.
Is that the question you thought would make me think?
No, there's another one at the end which will probably catch you out.
Okay. Right.
I thought that was quite a good one.
That was a very good question.
Thank you.
Yeah,
I did a lot of research for that. Definitely didn't just copy it from someone that I found. Okay, 1 out of 1. Number 2. Pretty simple question. Who is the youngest winner of the French Open, male or female?
Ooh.
Your options are as follows: Martina Hingis, Michael Chang, Rafael Nadal or Monica Seles?
So I must admit, I
You
knew,
know it.
given it was going to be a bit of a French Open day, I did think maybe I should brush up on some stats.
That's the researcher in you.
Exactly. I can't help myself. But it's Michael Chang.
Get a grip. It's not.
It's not.
No.
Who is it?
Well, I think it's Monica Seles. At the age of 16 years and 16 months, she won the French Open in 1990.
Wow, okay. There's my confidence stripped. Jesus.
Look at that. The fact that you were so confident about that one and not the previous one.
I was
shattered.
I was almost, maybe I need to not be confident about answers. That's what seems to be helping me. Okay. Wow. Okay.
If you might remember it from that King Richard film. I think they did mention her quite a few times as like, one of these young players that was winning a lot of tournaments. Maybe burned herself out a little bit, but yeah.
Interesting.
I mean, I didn't know that before I researched it.
Wow, 5 out of 5's down the toilet.
It's gone.
It's gone. Oh well.
Okay. Number 3 then. Who was the last French winner of the men's singles title? So obviously the French Open. Was it Guy Forget, Fabrice Santoro, Joe Wilfried Tsonga, or Yannick Noah?
So the last French person to win the French Open, is that the question?
Yeah, I need to just check whether it's the last one to win it or the only one, but yes.
Interesting, okay.
Yeah, it's the last French winner, yeah.
The last, so what were the options again?
Forget, Santoro, Tsonga, or Noah. So a bit of a throwback question, probably. I mean, to be honest, Tsonga hasn't won it. That's not.
Yeah, I can rule him out.
Shocking news.
Yeah, I can't call him a nearly man if he's won the French.
Wow, what are your standards?
Yeah.
Well, he hasn't won the full set. So
a nearly man. Well, he hasn't won 20, so he's a nearly man. I believe it's Yannick Noah. Rings a bell, so I'm going to go with that. Just because I feel like I read that recently. So, final answer.
That is correct. Well done. Yeah, he won the French Open in 1983 with a straight sets win over Mats Wilander.
Oh, really? Oh, Wilander.
And also, if anyone hasn't seen it, he was part of one of the funniest matches I think there's ever been. That was technically a professional match. If you look it up on Tennis TV on YouTube, it's him against some German guy. I think he's literally like running off into the crowd, like having a sip of beer, so all kinds of like ridiculous stuff. Someone hits it through his legs, and he's like, as if he's been like embarrassed, and then he's like sat on his racket on the baseline, and just there's some hilarious rallies.
Yeah, that reminds me of watching Bahrami. I believe that's how you pronounce his name. I'm not entirely sure.
What, Bahrami?
Yeah. Anyway, that reminds me of him. Like every year at Wimbledon, when you get the chance to go around the outer courts and then have a look at the antics that he gets up to. Always entertaining. Always a great laugh. So, yeah, I think like the more of that, the better. But unfortunately, I think people take it a little bit more seriously these days, the professional tennis. So.
It's almost like there's a lot of money in people's careers.
It's almost like there's loads of money on it. Yeah, I know.
Okay, so we're on 2 out of 3? That's pretty good.
Okay.
Yeah, okay. Take 2 more to go. And we're running out of time as well. Number 4. Who was the last British player, male or female, to win the French Open? So you'll probably be able to rule a couple of these out. Andy Murray, your favourite person ever.
Oh, well, he didn't win, so...
Sue Barker, let me finish. Anne Hayden-Jones, or Fred Perry.
Sue Barker.
Straight to it. No fluff, yeah.
Sue Barker.
That is correct. Well done.
It's always why she's a great presenter for the French Open stuff, through the summer. So, yeah, I'm pretty sure I'm right with that one.
Yeah, you were. She won it in 1976, and she was only 20. So
wow,
that's
I
pretty
didn't know
amazing. Defeating Tamanova, whoever that is in the final.
I have no recollection.
All these people that lose in like the semis or final of Grand Slams that you just never hear about again.
Forgotten. Yeah.
Into the ether.
Yeah, exactly. That's why you don't become an early man. That's why you always win a Grand Slam.
Simple, just do it. Get on with it.
I don't understand. Why don't you just do it? Like.
Okay, so this is to equal my score from last week. So your place on the mantelpiece is coming under some pressure here.
Okay.
Cracks appearing. Okay, here we go. Number 5 then, last question. This one might catch your eye because this is not really something you could prepare for.
Okay.
The French Open is also known as Roland Garros. But who was Roland Garros?
Ooh.
Oh, you're going to know it. If you've looked at the same quiz as I have,
you've given me history. Okay. No, I haven't looked at this. I actually think I know this. I could be about to spout some utter rubbish, but you carry on.
Let me give you the options before you get too confident. Okay, so your options are a pilot, a famous scientist, a former tennis player, or a former French president.
I wish it was the scientist, because that would be cool. But unfortunately, tennis and science, I don't think, really mix. It is, in fact, Roland Garros was the French aviator. He was a pilot and, in fact, a war hero. So pretty sure I'm onto that one. Could be completely wrong, but I'm hoping.
Well, it's funny you should say that, because that is correct. Yes, well done. Cue confetti and all that stuff. Yeah,
brilliant.
You're right. Yeah, he is a famous French aviator or an aviation expert. So he was the first man to fly non-stop across the Mediterranean. And yes, he was a hero of the First World War and a pioneer in French aviation. So well done. If you literally looked at the same quiz as me prior to this, can't believe it.
That one you could just Google French Open facts. Wow.
Yeah. It's an obvious one, isn't it? I mean, the fact that it's called Roland Garros.
I think it's very interesting because a lot of the time the courts are named after famous tennis players like Suzanne Lenglen, for example. It's one of the big courts, and Philippe Chatrier. But I think it's quite cool that there's a little bit more of a link than just tennis.
Yeah, that was going to be the question I was considering was what was the women's trophy named after? I think it's named after Suzanne Lenglen.
It is, yeah.
And the men's trophy is called the Coupe de Musketeer or something, named after the Musketeers.
I'm not sure about that one, but it sounds about right.
Yeah.
You just wait till the Wimbledon quiz, and I ask you who was Wimbledon. Oh, that's going to
be. Is it a person?
Bob Wimbledon.
Robert Wimbledon the third.
Yeah. That's a bit more English. Yeah, fair enough.
Of London town. Yeah. Anyway, yeah. So that wraps it up. 4 out of 5. You've matched my score from last week. I'm really hoping I can get 5 at some point, but I don't know. I just don't think I can logic it. You got to
join me at the top.
Maybe it's the glasses. I need to get myself a pair of glasses.
Get yourself some fake lensless glasses.
Hipster glasses, yeah. Anyway, yeah. So obviously, if you have enjoyed this podcast, give it a follow on Apple, Spotify, Google Podcasts, and if you're watching on YouTube, give it a like, share it around, subscribe, and also leave any comments below about who your favourites are for the French, etc., and Wimbledon, what your take is on that. And we'll see you in the next one.